In this video, we're going to pimp out a Game Boy Advance with this year's tech and see what we can do with it. Due to prices always fluctuating with these devices, here is the current landscape of Game Boy Advance prices at the end of this year. In the end, I picked up this lot of 3 handhelds with one noting a power issue. None of these devices came with battery covers, and they all appeared in similar banged up shape. First thing we need to do is find out which Game Boy Advance won't power on. Looks like this first one powers on just fine. And this white one checks out as well. Looks like they all power on. However, upon closer inspection, this last device won't respond to any of the button inputs. I won't insult everyone's intelligence about how to open this device, but the one thing I want to note is that the ribbon cable is released by raising the 2 latches on either side of it like so. Other than this commonly dirtied speaker, the mainboard looks to be in great condition. These pads don't look bad either, but let's soak the entire button assembly in vinegar to remove all doubt. After letting everything soak for a couple hours and rinsing them off in IPA, our Game Boy Advance plays nicely again and is ready for some much needed upgrades. I bought all these goodies from Handheld Legends, although if you're in Europe, Retrosix carries them as well. Here's the wish list of items I purchased that we will be installing in this video. One thing to note if you purchase an IPS screen for this device is that you'll want to get the matching tempered glass lens so that it will show more of the viewport. It's a small subtle change, but I saw in the comments some people regret not picking one up with their install. Another thing that I'd like to bring up is that this display is incredibly fragile. If you're heavy-handed with modding, I'd be extra careful when performing the install. Upon closer inspection, this ribbon cable has the same design as the funny playing one. So whether your Game Boy Advance has a 32 or 40 pin variant, this modification has you covered. Now this part is optional, but if we want screen brightness controls, we'll need to solder some wires. The first wire we'll be tackling is the select button using test pad TP2 near the directional inputs. Next, let's flip the mainboard over so that the cartridge connector is facing us, and solder a wire to both shoulder buttons' top left solder joint. Now we can attach these wires to their corresponding pads on the ribbon. The left shoulder button to L, the right shoulder button to R, and TP2 to the one marked for select. Aligning this display will take some trial and error. First, let's apply this adhesive to the shell so that it won't move around on us. I usually like to stick one side of the adhesive down, and then stretch it over to the other side of the viewport for a clean look. Next, we need to fold this ribbon over in a Z pattern on the side of the mainboard with the speaker like this. For safety reasons, let's cover the unused side of the ribbon connector to prevent any shorts to the system. At first, I dry fitted the LCD bracket to the Game Boy, but due to how fragile the screen is, I decided to forgo using it entirely. This bracket is more of a press fit style, and if the friction breaks while we push it into the shell, the display could easily get destroyed in the process. After fiddling with the LCD's alignment, I found that this bottom left corner was the sweet spot for this install. Just make sure there isn't any adhesive tape in the viewport before doing this step, or you'll end up in a very precarious situation of popping the LCD out again. After everything is set, all we need to do is apply the tempered glass and we're good to go. For the unused LCD ribbon end, we can simply tuck that into the shell while we're buttoning everything up. Since we're bringing this device up to current standards, let's get rid of these AA batteries and install a Clean Juice USB-C mod. Like all Clean Juice mods, it's as simple as dropping in the LiPo battery pack and covering it up with the charge management board. For a couple extra bucks, you can get this pre-cut USB-C battery cover for that fresh OEM look. The question is, how much extra playtime do we get with this mod? Using a stock Game Boy Advance with a fresh set of AA batteries nets us almost 24 hours in this example. If we only swap the screen, our playtime drops us down to 9 hours and 37 minutes. And replacing the AA's with a fully charged Clean Juice mod, it only nets us less than an extra hour at 10 hours and 25 minutes. As I was digging in and doing some research on this handheld, I was blown away at the fact that this thing can actually play NES, Master System, and Game Gear games by running an emulator on a flash cart. What sorcery is this? If you told me that this thing would be running Sega games back in the early 2000s, I would never have believed it. After ordering an Easy Flash Omega on Amazon, I was surprised to find out that my order was missing something. Wigging out because I like to release these videos on a schedule, I started scouring online for anyone that could overnight this thing to me. Fortunately, luck was on my side and recommended a storefront with a chat feature on it. So I contacted Diego from the RetroFella.com and gave him the lowdown. Now this video isn't sponsored in any way, but the customer service over there was top-notch, and I can't recommend this guy enough. On the day of delivery, I was pretty surprised when UPS did one of these numbers on me. What? After receiving the card a full 5 days later, we can finally observe how the screen compares to these other beloved handhelds. Syncing these devices up, I could see very little difference between the two IPS displays. Their color temperatures were identical, although the Game Boy's picture looked a little more washed out compared to the Benven, even accounting for the gamma settings. On the other hand, in person you could tell which display was the true OLED. The light leak from the IPS displays and the oversaturation of the Vita made it abundantly clear. Don't expect either of the emulated handhelds to be as accurate as the real hardware though. The Game Boy Advance lagged behind the real Game Gear in terms of clock speed, while the Vita was slightly ahead. Overall, this Game Boy Advance is awesome for emulating games before the 16-bit era. Through my testing, it emulated all sorts of games really well, and even made playing watered-down Game Boy versions of NES games irrelevant. Although the Game Boy Advance can play all sorts of titles, every now and then it still reminds us that we aren't playing on native hardware. Fortunately, there's a thriving community about this device, and workarounds can be had if you dig deep enough. While this handheld isn't perfect, it's a solid option for an all-in-one retro device, and will scratch that itch when the mood strikes.
If you like this video, or if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. Hey all, just a quick update. This is probably the last video of the year. Being that the holidays are coming up, and these videos take so much time to produce, I don't see it realistically happening. I just want to show my appreciation to all of you for all your comments, your questions, and support. Without you, this channel would be nowhere. And once again, thank you.